Okay.
Okay. All right. And we can
All
talk
right.
afterwards too, because like I said, I
Sure.
have all day. So it's Sue Greenwald here with Awakened Stories, and I'm honored today to be here with David Adair again. Hey, David, how are you?
I'm fine. How you doing?
I am doing really good today. And today our topic is Pitholem, the entity. So we had
Hmm.
done two interviews before. I had split them apart, and we talked about really an overview of your life from, birth through age 17, a little bit past where you met Pitholem in Area 51. And
Right.
then we talked a little bit about that. But what I want to do is focus on Pitholem, the entity that was part of the powertrain of the ship you met in Area
Right.
51, and ask questions really about how that's affected your life.
Quite a bit. She it's strange how something I've had with me for about 54 years uh is now becoming current events in the news. Um there was a discovery made just recently here by the James Woods telescope,
Hmm.
and they found four of the oldest galaxies in the universe. These galaxies formed 390 million years after the Big Bang, which is just a few seconds on a cosmic clock. So these galaxies were amazing. And uh, a guy that I know, Steve Finkelstein, that's a real name, y'all. It's he is the head of the James Webb Telescope's uh, observatory and observations and such. And he saw these galaxies, and he has a daughter. I think she's 10 years old, and he named one of the galaxies after her. And I forgot what the spelling was. It was rather odd. I wrote it down somewhere. Um, and they named the galaxy that. And Piston was sitting here with me, and she said, she's looking at the image. She goes, "That's not its name. Here's its real name." And it sounded like a dolphin squeaking. I
Ooh.
said, I said, "Well, what kind of language is that? Something you can't speak?" I said, "Well, obviously." I said, "So what do you know about this galaxy?" "I was born there, so it's her home."
How cool is that?
And I said, "What about the other three galaxies?" And she goes, "Yeah, they all formed at the same time," um, which, according to James Webb Telescope, that indeed happened. And I said, she was born in between the galaxies. They're kind of like whales. They're born in deep oceans or deep space between galaxies. And we always thought, until James Webb Telescope, we always thought that space was empty between the galaxies,
Mhm.
and we called it dark matter or whatever. And come to find out, she said, "Oh no, it's not. There are entire solar systems in between the galaxies. We just couldn't see them. Now we can." And she said that she was born in between the galaxies with these four. When you get four of them in together, you get a cluster group, and in that cluster group, that's where she was born. And I said, "How old are you?" She goes, "About 13 and a half billion years."
Billion. Billion with a
Yeah,
B.
that's
Yeah.
13 billion 500 billion years old. The universe is thought to be 14 billion, but now James Webb Telescope is presenting other data that's saying that the galaxy or the universe is now 26 billion years old. Not 13, it's twice as older than we thought. And Piston said, "Yeah, well, keep working with your telescope. You're going to learn a lot more." And I said, "Well, got any other points coming up?" She goes, "Yeah, this year is going to be particularly difficult year for everything. You're going to have a lot of floods and fathom, and you're going to have food and water will become a primary resource. Uh, may not feel so bad here in America, but like the formula goes, if America catches a cold, the rest of the world gets pneumonia.
Mm.
So the rest of the world is in for a really bad event. Going to be a lot of famine and drought, and water will become a very critical resource. Um, Also, uh, Putin, she said, I'm surprised she mentioned him. He's going to get very sick this year, and his health is going to be bad. He'll be replaced by a younger person that's going to be 10 times meaner. So,
Meter.
God knows that's not, well, what is it, the Antichrist? And
So, so when, if Putin gets sick, is it a natural sickness or is it like,
natural,
okay.
natural sickness. And,
Right.
you can't be as evil as that dude is and not catch things. Karma is a pain, but he'll come back and bite him, and it's what's going to happen. And but going to leave us with an alternative that's not. It's actually going to be worse.
Mm.
Can't imagine it being worse, but they said it's going to be a whole lot worse. And also, here's one for you. Um, Everybody that can hear my voice, hear this. Something fantastic is waiting to meet you, and you're going to meet it. It's en route now, and you will meet up with it soon. And it's going to be a very uneasy truce or peace between us. Um, but we will get through it, and it'll be our first contact. So we'll see. I said, "Is there anything else?" And she said, "The economies are going to be shaken on the planet. New superpower will rise." I said, "Well, who's that?" And I never thought of this, but she said, "India. India will be very much responsible for shaping our future." And I went, "Really?" I said, "It is poised in the financial world. It's the next superpower for sure." So I said, "Well, that's interesting. Anything else?" And she said, "That's enough for now." But she asked
You
her
still
on a
think? Yeah.
personal note. She says her family's arriving. And I said, and like I said to you, well, what's that mean for me? Do I turn into Dorian Gray? And when you leave, I just shrivel up? And she goes, "No, the things are going to go well for you." So I don't know. There's an awful lot of stuff occurring.
Yeah.
A lot of information I'm getting. It's so much. I even have to say, will you be quiet, and just pipe down.
Right.
But it's amazing over the years the way we have evolved with each other. I guess it's a symbiotic relationship, so we both learn from each other. And
How do you hear Pitholem? Like, do you hear a voice in your head?
I used to when I was younger. I did.
Yeah.
Now it's backed up a little bit where it comes in feelings. Um, I loved it when in Star Wars, Han Solo and everybody would say, "I got a bad feeling about this," and
Yeah.
and you get ready because something's going to happen, and it did in the film. Well, it's like that. I'll be sitting still, or then I'll get a feeling going, "Oh, this is going to be bad," or "This is going to be good." It goes both ways, but communicate through feelings now.
Okay.
And she said, I said, "I like talking better," but she said, "You've evolved upward. So you can now mentally communicate," and which we do, and I get feelings. Um, and apparently, feelings are a better communicator than voice is. It's more real, it's more instant reactions. And I said, "Wow, that's the first time I ever heard this stuff." And so, yeah, I don't hear voices anymore. I get feelings. And I learned to use these feelings uh, really just as well as it would when I heard something.
Right.
But yeah, that's how we talked.
All right, I wanted to ask some questions about your background. And so we're going to assume for this video that people have watched the previous two,
Okay.
that they can catch up, and or there's going to be a link to them in the description here. But as a child, were you raised with a religious background at all?
Very much so. I was raised as well, what a combination. I was raised as a Methodist with my mother, but my father and my grandfather was a primitive Baptist minister. It doesn't get any worse than that, y'all. Snake
Okay.
handlers, that kind of stuff. And they had I remember this Eastern Diamondback they had. The thing was huge. The body of it was bigger than my arm. It was just a big rattlesnake, and they put that thing on the floor, and it came at me, and I took a folding chair and I beat that sucker to death. And
They were literally handling snakes.
yeah, oh yeah, and these people would get bit, and I'm telling you, I don't know whether they milked the damn snakes or the venom was low, but I would see puncture marks in their arms. And those people never swelled up. They never got sick. They never got
Wow.
red.
Wow.
I don't know. There's something to be said about all that.
Wow. Okay. So you were religious. You did have a strong belief system in God,
Oh yeah,
source, creator,
right.
and Jesus, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's where it gets a little confusing for some people with me, I guess. I I wasn't there when Jesus was around, so I don't know. And the whole thing's based on faith. But I approach religion like I do corporate America. I don't deal with the CEO. That would be Jesus. I go to the chairman of the board. That's where the power is. And that's who I deal with, chairman of the board. So
Who is
if
that?
I work with anything on a religious level, I work with God directly.
Ah, gotcha. All right.
So I even had a T-shirt made, and had some friends look at the T-shirt and goes, "That's remarkable. You've taken a religious statement and made it universal for every religion on the planet." I had a thing made where, like property of LA Fitness or property of University of Georgia. You know, it was a property shirt, and I want to say it was property of God. So
Okay.
that's who I belong to.
Well, I just wanted to kind of establish that your belief system. And would you consider yourself empathic as a child? So did you have like a knowing about things, say before they happened, or you could take the temperature of a room if you walked in it, that kind of thing?
Yeah, there was times it was really uneasy at times. I could tell things that were coming. Um, One thing I did all the time, I'd be driving a car and tell you there's a car coming around the curve and it's in our lane.
Yeah.
And my parents got to where they would listen to me, and they move out of the road. And sure enough, here comes a speeding car around the curve and it's in our lane. We would have had a head on, but I must have missed 6 or 7 head ons like that.
Yeah. All right.
So I just knew. And yeah, my mother would keep an eye on me. She said, "Something not right about this child." And I think she was right.
So when you integrated with Pitholem, the entity, all right, she told you that she had sent you the dreams where you received the mathematical calculations.
Right.
So she said that to you. Did she say anything else about the other opportunities that kind of appeared for you that led you to Area 51?
Not really. We didn't discuss it much. And I had some before I ever met her. I had things going on with me anyhow that were of cosmic nature, and so I had some gifts and skills of my own. And when she showed up, everything just got, it wasn't new, it just got augmented.
Right.
even better.
Right.
And my question to her was, how did you pick me? How did you find me? And she didn't want to answer it at first. And I said, I gotta know. And she said there was encounters before you, and there was in my family there was. So that's when she got first aware of me.
Ah, okay. So other family members had been brought to her attention in some fashion. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Um, I want to reach over here and turn the light on. There we go.
Right. Yay, we can see you
Getting dark
better.
outside.
So
Yeah,
then
how about that?
that dovetails with my next question is, did you know or work Pitholem in any previous lifetime, reality, or timeline that you're aware of? Or is this the first encounter?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Okay.
I love those previous life meetings. I got drug into a couple of them. And have you ever noticed people who are in those meetings? There's somebody famous. They were Einstein or Newton or whatever, and so they couldn't wait to hear what mine was. And I guess mine was, it was a more honest answer, but it was almost borderline sarcastic. But I said, "Oh, I know who I was. Who? I was Omar, the cart boy." And I told them not to put those camels over there to be a stampede, and they did. And I got ran over and I was killed and I was stumped to death in a pile of camel crap. So that was me. That was my famous past life. I was Omar the cart boy. And
So
I
that,
asked them in that meeting, I said, "Hey, when you leave your body experience, do you tie a helium balloon to you so you can find your body when you come back?" And they, I was trying to just be a pain in the ass, they just didn't get it. But I said, "Oh no, that sounds like a good idea. Well, you do it in the parking lot. You tie it to your car so you can find your car out there." And I thought maybe we should do the same for our bodies, but they said, "No, you're attached to some kind of thread attaches you to your body." They say, um, "I just don't do that stuff. Quite frankly, I haven't had to. I've already had everything I needed."
right, right. I was just asking, really to find out why Pitholem chose you. Like, did you have previous encounters? I know you said that your left and right hemispheres of your brain work in
Right,
tandem. Um, and you have basically photographic memory, and so
right.
brain is, well, let's say more in use than the average human.
Yeah, that'd be fair to say.
Yeah. And I was wondering if that was the reason she chose you or whatever, but to me, it feels like she left you stepping stones through your entire life to get you to Area 51 to take her out of that situation.
Yeah, she had plotted that thing pretty well. She said, because when I was sitting in the maintenance chair of her
Yeah.
um, power plant, she said, when she told me to be quiet, and I'm sitting there, and I asked, "Who are you?" She goes, "Who do you think sent you the formula that you wrote down, knowing that you build a rocket, knowing that your government would bring you here," which they did. And she said, "And once you got here, you interact with me, you put your hands on things, you went inside, got to the spot, and then I downloaded, and now we can leave together." And I'm going, "What do you mean we?" And she said, "You're stuck now, buddy." So,
Yeah.
but she picked me because when I was real little, like 2 years old, she said I had a capacity she hadn't seen before
Right.
of learning and understanding, remembering things. So what she was looking for is a vessel,
Right.
something that she could store a lot of her knowledge in that wouldn't leak. And she said, "I found out that you didn't leak." I said, "Well, that's good. That'd be a mess." And she said, "You could withhold it all." And it's been difficult at times. carrying that stuff. Things occur in regular life, and that this thing's there, and uh, when you do stuff like that, certain responsibilities come with it, which you may not want, but you just got to put up with. Um, I, People probably sitting there trying to think, well, what is he talking about? Uh, I'm real good.
Okay. I'm gonna wait and see if David comes back on. Sorry, you guys. Well, as long as we're talking, for those that don't know, this is the Pitholem ball. And you can get these at smartiescorner.com. And basically, it's a way for you to communicate telepathically with Pitholem. You don't especially need the ball to do that. You can do it on your own, but the ball is beautiful. And it comes with a little base that lights it up in various colors. So it is really beautiful, but it also feels so good to hold. So if anyone's interested, go to smartiescorner.com. Just trying to fill in the airspace here, guys. Okay, we can't see you right now.
Okay, sure can you? Let's see. Hold on
No.
here. I might. Okay, now you might be able to. Let's see. No,
No, I can hear you. Woo!
there we go.
The crowd goes wild. Hey, you know what? We gotta keep these fun. Like we can't be too serious about it.
No, you can't let it upset you. It's just like you got two wolves in you, and which one are you feeding? That's the one that will live.
Yep,
So don't
yep,
feed the mean wolf.
yep,
Don't let this get you upset.
yep.
I've just learned to take it as whatever. Here we go.
All right.
The more they interfere with the soap, the more that you must be making an impression. You're
Well,
getting somewhere.
the more they
They
interfere,
don't like.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they didn't like me the last time I did that. I saved about 2 billion people not being burnt to ash because they wanted to do the first strike thing. I take it away from them.
Yeah.
And then they basically took my life away from me. I never got to be what I wanted to be, and I ended up becoming something else altogether different. And so, see, I wanted to be a college professor. I wanted to teach. I think that would have been the greatest thing I could have done. But instead, I became, member of the covert world and worked for O&I for 20 years and did all these other stuff for another 20 years. So that brought me up to this point, and I guess they're just not happy with things.
Well, you have, and I'm gonna say it's with Pitholem's help. You,
Right.
they've tried to, harm you, kill you
Oh, yeah.
multiple times. And you've told me stories that we haven't talked about on camera yet. And they've always been foiled. And that probably is
Yeah.
a source of great irritation from, we'll call them the bad guys. And then the good guys, like they just like you fall into their lap. And it's been a beautiful story. And we've joked about it like it's a mini series.
I
There's
had one
so
guy tell
much.
me, right to my face. It was so funny because it's like what the emperor said to Russell Crowe in Gladiator. Why can't you just die?
Well, there's a reason.
Yeah.
Don't want to give away too much.
Yeah. Yeah. There's more to come. The
Yeah,
story's not over with.
yeah. And that
That's
was
what,
one of my questions down at the bottom of my page. Like,
yeah.
really, do you feel like there's more to come? Don't
Oh,
you
absolutely.
feel like you're just really starting to get started now? Don't you feel that way?
Yeah. And that's so weird because I turned 70 last month, and and here I had like 5 heart attacks, and standing there talking at the end of the tunnel with the light and all. Hey, that stuff is real, y'all. Been there, done that. It really is. I walked down the tunnel and met up with this guy in a white duster that looked like from 1860s West, and it was all the way down to his ankles. And turned out that was Jesus himself. And he said he was out riding, and he was told by his father he had to come and talk to me. And I said, "Well, what's going on?" He goes, "I was going to ask you the same thing." I don't know. I said, "I want to just go home. Can I go down the end of this hallway?" And he said, "No, you got to go back." And I said, "Yeah, I turned 70 last week." And then he smiled and turned his head a little bit, and he said, "So Colonel Sanders was 70 when he started KFC." And I thought, God, I got the Son of God talking to me like this. And I thought, Lord have mercy. So he said, "You got to go back." And I died a second time. I met him up, we met again. And he told me, "You got to quit doing this." I said, "I'm not doing this. I'm just a little old measly human being. I need some help with this. The body's just not holding together, you know." And I guess I was, the second time I died, I hemorrhaged to death. They put 3 pints of blood in me. That's a lot of blood.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Guess I'm going to go back again." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "We'll help you out." Boy, did they ever. I 3 weeks after I was dead on the table, I was driving my car. And I asked, the nurses were looking at me, and "You drove yourself here?" "Yeah." And they said, "We saw where the occupational nurses and the registered nurse, they all signed off on you. And you were dead 3 weeks ago." I said, "Yeah, I know." She goes, "Nurse wrote in her notes here, you stood up and sat down in a chair. You did it 15 times in 30 seconds. She goes, "Athletes can't even do that. What is up with you?" And she said, "Then you're at the clinic, your doctors are looking at your blood pressure 120/70, pulse 72. Your said you're diabetic, but your diabetes is at 112." And they said, "How are you doing all this stuff? Your oxygen was 99." I said, "I don't know. Well, somebody said they were going to help me out." And she said, "Something's happened to you. Everybody signed off on you. You're free to go."
Right. Well, do you think Pitholem had anything to do with you, your being here still?
I must have had something, because I noticed her and Jesus did a lot of talking by themselves. And she explained some things to me. When an organism has lived as long as they have, how the phrase goes, the longer you live or the more you exist, the closer to God you are. I said, "Well, y'all must be like right next, shoulder to shoulder." She goes, "Yeah, we pretty much are." But yeah, they said, "You got a busy life. It's going to get busier." It gets back to what you said. It's like everything's starting up again.
Yeah.
I would have thought the world would have forgotten me and my story years ago. God Almighty, I was on Coast to Coast like 25 years ago. And Art Bell had the longest interview in Coast to Coast history with me. It
Yeah.
was 8 solid hours. And uh, I would have thought the stories would have just eventually evaporated and be gone, but it's not.
It wasn't time yet. So I heard your story years ago. Very interesting. I liked you immensely. And one about my business, right?
Yeah.
And then I heard your story again, and it was like a lightning bolt hitting me. Boom. I literally laid in bed one night. I was in Florida trying to figure out how I was going to get to you to talk with you. Like
Hmm.
I was like churning, right? And at the same time, King Smarty put a picture of this out on his site. And I'm like, oh my God. So I was somehow picking up on that as he was picking up on it as well. And I think he's talked with Pitholem at length. And it's been very exciting ever since, right?
Yeah. People ask me stuff about that, and I told them, I don't know. I'm not privy to that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't get invited to things, and that's people will go, aren't you offended? No, not at all. It just means less work. Uh, I
Well,
said they work me all the time, but I said, no, I don't have an ego that gets in the way of things.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's go back through the story. I have tons of questions, always
Sure.
questions, but it's such an interesting story. I kind of want to set the foundation for people because I think the future is going to be so exciting and so busy. We can't even imagine what it's going to be like.
It's gonna be a buggy ride, y'all.
Yeah. So, so we've talked a little bit about some of your experiences. Like I said, they tried to kill you multiple times. So either they love you or they hate you, pretty much,
Yeah,
right?
pretty much.
And the guys that love you have promoted you, given you these amazing opportunities. I like to think Pethlum had her hand in that as well. And then
I'm
the guys
sure
that
she
hate
has.
you haven't been able to kill you, even though they've tried repeatedly.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, I'm just like a bad piece of sticky tape. You can't get rid of it.
Yeah, and it's not, funny. You've gone through a lot of pain and suffering. I'm not laughing about that at
Oh
all.
yeah, right,
But the fact that they have tried and not succeeded is amazing and so exciting. And it so that just gives you a clue. There's a greater purpose that you're not done here yet, you know?
right.
So
Well,
go
yeah.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, just to give you an idea how intense it is, been married 5 times. Well, that doesn't sound good. Well, yeah, Hollywood, Elizabeth Taylor. And I went, no, 3 of the wives died. The last 2 died back to back in this house. Um, Consequently, I have uh, I've become a person of interest, and they found out it's just natural causes. And but first time was too early, and then 3 died. So it's not that bad. I'm really built for a long haul with relationships, but it's just things are so intense. And my last 2 wives, they got to know Pitholem, and they actually communicated with her, and it was on a humorous level. They the sense of humor of Pitholem is astounding. It's brilliant, and I'm good, but I'm not that good. And I guess we need it sometimes because they does get so intense.
Yeah,
Um,
it definitely gets
but
into.
I'm still here,
Yeah.
still plugging away.
So let's just say Pithlum then is 13.5 billion years old. Let's just say that's the number. Because I'm
Okay.
actually getting it's more than that, but it doesn't matter. And she crash landed here on Earth because she's
Yeah.
been shot down. Um,
Right.
did she tell you how long ago it was that she landed on Earth?
It was something like 75 to 100 million years ago.
Wow.
Um, the reason why is that when they were in some kind of battle, which, like I said, I'm not privy to everything, and that doesn't bother me at all. But I do get feelings out of it, and there was some kind of battle between light and dark. Uh, Old story, billions of years old, and they were slugging it out there, and they got hit in the side really bad, and it went through the hull of the ship and went through her containment field and caused everything to shut down.
Right.
And the area she was hit in was what I call the eye of the hurricane. It's shaped like a figure 8 sideways, which is infinity. And right where the 2 circles cross each other is where they got hit. Perfect place to be hit because
Right.
it will shut down an electromagnetic fusion containment system like they got. It'll shut down in about a picosecond, which is a trillionth of a second. And you want it to shut down that fast because if you don't, well, imagine you're only standing 20, 30 feet away from the sun. So, I mean, there things run at 50 million degrees centigrade, 10,000 times hotter than the sun. And so it shuts down real fast. Otherwise, the power plant, the ship, and everything would have evaporated.
Right.
So she takes a hit in the side, and the ship is listing to the, again, I think to her right, and it's going over toward this galaxy, which was a Class M galaxy, spiral nebula galaxy called the Milky Way, ours. And our planet is on the very outward arm of our galaxy. We're right on the outside. So this was the first Class M planet that they rolled up on. So they looked at it and said, yeah, that'll work. So they entered the atmosphere and made preparations to crash landing on the thing. And so she's jettisoned out of the ship, which she is not just the engine, she's a power plant. People don't get that confused with me. I have told people so many times I'm really not a rocket scientist. I'm just using rockets to verify the the theorems that I have on hypothesis. See if this would work. That's all it is. It's just a medium, a vehicle to use. It's not the end game itself. She is an entirely different type of power source of her own. But anyway, she came out of the ship, hit the ocean. It was an ocean at that time, sank to the bottom, settled on the sand. After eons of time, the sand covered her up. She went down deeper. And then eventually the ocean evaporated and it became the Great Basin of Midwest North America continent. So, it took probably 50, 75 million years for that ocean to evaporate. And now she's deep underground and she's in. So these guys come digging through there, digging tunnels for a very large operation, which we know it as Area 51. And they uncovered her. They found her. So she was dug up. So, and she even mentioned them. She said, these were the guys in the blue hats. Well, that's the Air Force. So they were building Area 51. They dug her up and they didn't know anything about it. They don't understand anything, how it works. So it's got a big hole in its side, so it's not operating. And then they, years and years later, here comes a teenager in the news, and he's built something very similar to what they got in the basement down there. And they're looking at each other, the Air Force people are, and go, how in the hell did he build an electromagnetic fusion containment system? So they became interested. And once I got in the news with that, boy, life was never the same. Then the story starts. General Curtis LeMay shows up, 4-star general. And he's got plans of his own called First Strike, which I never did understand what that term was when I first heard it.
Right.
I thought it had to do something with baseball. I don't know.
Well,
I'm like,
nowadays it's in every single movie kind of, so everyone
yeah.
knows what it is, but
Well, back in 1971, we never heard of it. We didn't never even heard the term.
but when
First
you
Strike.
got to Area 51, they weren't really planning to put you two together at this point. That wasn't like
No.
the plan. That was Pitholem's plan.
Yeah, and there was a guy that became instrumental in that, and it's interesting, he became instrumental, but yet he was a deficit of a character. The guy was a sociopath. His name was Dr. Arthur Rudolph. Look him up on the internet, y'all. There was no internet in my time. I just had to deal with him head on. he looked like a little blue eye, gray hair grandfather of somebody. And turns out he's a full colonel in the Gestapo. And he had killed 100,000 people personally working at a place called Metalworks, which was the B-2 rocket engine plant at Peenemünde. And if you make a mistake on assembly line, he just disembowel you.
Oh,
And he had his favorite knife was a thing called a hook bill. You had to see that thing. It's awful looking.
mm-mm.
It's a big curved blade like a hook. And he'd disembowel you, rip you open, and then hang you from the rafters by your intestines till you smelled so bad the guards couldn't take it, and then they bury you. And I
So,
mean,
sorry.
that's the guy I had to deal with.
Yeah.
And how did we deal with him? Well, we gave him the most distinguished service award of NASA, chief architect of the Saturn V rocket engines that took us to the moon. And yet, all this, NASA knew all this about him. They just chose to keep it quiet.
Of course they did.
And boy, that guy was right. NASA, not a straight answer.
Right.
Not one straight answer ever out of NASA about this stuff.
Right.
And they are the worst bureaucratic cesspool I have ever had to deal with.
So basically Pitholem was already in the ground near Area 51 when they were digging their tunnels in their
Correct.
structure. So she was kind of there already. So they're like, huh, that looks interesting. Let's stick it in a
Yeah. Yeah, let's brush the dirt off of it, and let's see if we can make it work.
Yeah. So they
Well,
started
they were
studying it.
clueless. They were
Yeah.
just clueless, and they didn't know where to start and what it was and how it worked. And they brought out people from AEC, Atomic Energy Commission, and at that time, it wasn't until in the 40s, Trinity and all that going on, the Trinity test, Manhattan Project. That's when she started catching a lot of attention because they went, "Oh, this thing's nuclear," and so they started looking at it, and it's totally different from anything they were used to. Which brings back to the question, how did which is my story, how did a teenager get to a point where he could do such a sophisticated piece of,
Yeah.
it wasn't that hard really. All the circumstances that happened, I was put into a place where on the commercial civilian side, I had everything NASA had. So
Right.
I went at it,
Right.
and we built it.
So you said basically she was jettisoned from a damaged ship. So she
Right.
landed, let's say in the ocean at the
Yeah.
time. The ship presumably crashed somewhere on Earth.
Somewhere on Earth, it stayed on Earth. The ship and crew went together, and I asked the Air Force people, "This is a power plant. I'm standing on top of her." And I said, "This came out of a ship and ship and crew. Where are those people at? Did you pickle them, put them in bottles? That's going to really piss me off if I get shot by a very pissed off alien with a ray gun because his friends have been pickled in a bottle, and he's not happy about that." I mean, that just sucks all the way around for everybody. So,
Yeah.
and it sounds funny at first, but it's not if you're being shot at
Mhm.
by a very hostile alien. So I don't know what they're going to do about the whole mess, but there's been so many lies, so much stuff. And what they do, I've seen this firsthand working with LeMay. It's a control situation. It's whoever controls the technology controls the knowledge. Whoever controls the knowledge gets the funding. And that's what it's all about. It's about money.
Bingo.
These agencies are battling within their own ranks and files with each other,
Right.
trying to possess the technology and the knowledge so they can get the funding.
Right.
And I thought, damn, it's just a sick situation, and it
They
shouldn't be
use
like
all the funding for nefarious causes.
exactly. And it's
That
they ain't
people,
doing nothing for us.
right? The people don't understand that their money is going for basically evil causes.
Yeah, and they said, "Oh, we're doing it to protect national security." No, you're not. You're not doing a damn thing but filling your pockets,
Yes.
and you're leaving the people just vulnerable.
Yeah.
A good example of that was look us up on the internet. 2012. Look on the and go to the solar storm of 2012. It was in June or July. There was not one, not two, but three CMEs heading straight at us. Corona mass ejections. Each of them are the size and mass of Mount Everest. And they're made of charged plasma. And they were heading right at us. And we've been hit by a CME, which is like a bead of sweat off the sun. In 1869, in September 3rd, we were hit by a CME. And it was powerful. It was so powerful that when it came into the upper atmosphere, it blowed right through the Van Allen radiation belts, went right into the upper atmosphere, charged the living daylights out of the electrons and neurons. And the result was the aurora borealis lit up so bright, people in New York City at midnight could read newspapers by the aurora borealis. It was that bright because it's charged so hard. And people down at the equator could see the northern lights. I mean, that's a hell of a charge you just did.
That's so.
So what came at us in 2012 was 3 times that size. There's 3 of them. The first one would have blown away the radiation belts. The second one would have eradicated the atmosphere layers, which is your ionosphere, your stratosphere, mesosphere, troposphere. Those were all being gone. Then the third one would come in and would cascade all over the surface of the earth and would have burned us back into the Stone Age. Because where's your electrical power plants or all of your electrical needs? 40 feet in the air. Oh, that's good. Let's put them up on sticks so we can feed it to the CMEs. So the CMEs would just blow away all of that. And I have a friend that only lives about 30 minutes from my house. He wrote a book called 1 Minute Later. And it is god awful. It's about a CME strike, hits the earth, and what happens in the first 60 seconds is absolutely nightmarish.
I can imagine.
Well, what would happen? Well, all the lights everywhere throughout the house and outside, everywhere would glow real flat, real bright, and flash out, just like a bulb when it burns out. You turn on the light, it's gone.
Yep.
All right, that all happens at the speed of light. Well, that would happen from coast to coast. And then all the gray transformers, the round gray cans hanging on the telephone poles, they're full of oil. And that's so when electricity flows through it, it cools it down. But these things will spike. So these transformers with the oil will explode like napalm. And how many transformers have you got? Just step out in your street and count them.
Right.
They're everywhere. There are millions of them. They all go off at the same time.
I think all that's going to be prevented though, so we don't have to worry.
It will now, but
yeah.
That's something I was going to talk to Smarty about. Was I'm the national spokesperson for the Electric Coalition to Save the Grid, and the director of the thing is Glenn Rhodes. This is his card right here. So he had me, get up there and tell the world, hey, y'all, this is some serious stuff. Our entire electric grid is fragile as a butterfly wing right now. So I said, look it up on 2012. Those 3 CMEs come in. Also look up where the federal government was that exact moment. They were at Mount Weatherby at an open house with all their families. They're in the bunker. They're going to close the door and say, good luck, adios, close the damn door. And we'd be standing here. Yeah. So back to that guy who's telling me, we're doing it for national security. No, you're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to leave us all hanging, standing out here, facing the brunt of everything.
Right.
And the people don't deserve that. God almighty. So that's something I'm trying to prevent, and it just pisses them off.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to happen. So yeah. I wanted to ask if Pitholem knows where her crew is. or her ship went? If she isn't,
I don't think so. I think they have expired.
oh,
Um,
mm,
the crew didn't live forever, and it's been millions of years. And I asked her, I said, well, they're not members of your society. No, they are like almost like servants. They come in, they work, and build everything, and but they're not in charge of it.
oh,
So it's I said, are they slaves? Oh no, 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 not slaves. Um, but they help us out. They're bipedal anthropoid, and their fingers look like this because that's how you have to take your ring finger and your middle fingers and put them together on the opposite of Spock,
right, right.
and you put it down on the pod that I put my hands on, and they fit identically. So they're bipedal anthropoids with opposing thumbs, and they're able to build all this stuff for them. And they're around too, but they're not. They don't live forever. They're more immortal like we are.
Okay.
But there's generations of them, and they're smart, and they live on those solar systems that we looked at
Okay.
in between the galaxies. I'd like to meet those people. I think they'd be fun to hang with. Uh, they're very much similar to bipedal anthropoid carbon-based units like us. Um, they have a designated lifespan of about 100 years, like us. So I think they'd be interesting people to meet up with. But that's not what's coming that you're going to meet. It's something
Ooh.
else you're coming. Just, just it's so tremendous. Oh God, it's gonna be a head full for a lot of people.
Okay.
Um, but I will tell you this, you know, I knew this woman. She was so cool. Her name was DC Fontana. She was a writer with Gene Roddenberry. She started out as a secretary. Then she started writing. She wrote some of the best episodes there ever was. She wrote Khan. So she has described some entities out there. That's about what you're going to meet up with. And you think our AIs are smart? Wait till you meet this crowd. Lord have mercy.
I think
Um,
there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff coming up soon.
it will be. And
Yeah.
I don't know why they find this so interesting. I don't find this interesting. I think for a species, we're rather miserable. Um, my God, we're born and we just plop on the ground, and all the other animals get up and run with the herd. We would lay there in our own crap and feces and urine until we starve to death or something comes along and eats us. But yet we will grow up and be the dominant species on the planet. Go figure, man.
Yeah.
Something's nuts about that.
Yeah.
All with the opposing thumbs. And the other thing with that baby laying on the ground, it's born with this thing called a moral compass. Now, the moral compass works in every one of us. You may deny it, but it's there and it's working. You just learn to ignore it.
That's true.
Um, when a little baby, only 1.5, 2 years old, steals a toy from another baby and makes it cry, it knows that's wrong.
I
There's
know.
nobody there to teach it. It's got a moral compass inside that says, hey, this is wrong. Give that toy back to that kid.
Right.
And that separates us from all the animals. The animals don't have that. They just have unconditional love. What do you think? Dog is God spelled backwards. Trying to tell you something there, y'all. The only animal on the planet that gives us unconditional love. Beat the crap out of it and it crawls back to you.
Yeah.
God almighty, I couldn't do that. Um, but it's just, these are things I've learned.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've learned them on my own or I've been pushed in that direction. I've had some really seriously good teachers along the way. And And if you ever wondered about this, I'll tell you the truth. Karma is a female. She is definitely a female. That's why the vengeance is so bad. Um, so don't mess with karma, y'all. That's very unwise. Um, but
So,
if you
oh,
listen to
I'm
her,
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
she's just a great educator. She's a great
Yeah.
teacher.
Yeah.
One of the best teachers I've ever had. And if you can't learn from your mistakes, there's something wrong with you.
So did Pitholem ever mention a repair of her engine, like that it will be repaired in the future? It will be used in the future? You
Yeah,
ever?
that's the coolest thing about this. Because the way they are, they're like eternal creatures. They live on forever. So she she told me, she goes, you got enough stuff in your brain now, you could repair my engine. I said, yeah, but I don't understand. I don't have a clue about some of the material you got in there. There's crystals in there. I haven't a clue what they do. I think they're from a different atomic code. They're not even on our chart, like a dilithium crystal or 100% unobtainium. I don't know what it is.
But don't you think she'll assist you when the time is right?
Oh yeah, I think
Mm. Yeah.
I've always told her, I said, I'm not a bonehead. I can learn, and so I've learned how to do things.
Now, did Pitholem actually use the words class M planet?
No, I did. That's my
Okay.
measly little brain putting it in a category
Okay. I
that I
wasn't
can
sure if that was
understand.
a real thing or if it
Her language, I can't even pronounce. It's like if you could speak with a dolphin, you could talk to her.
okay.
It's just a high pitched,
Mhm.
squeaky frequencies,
Okay.
and that's something that Marty keeps drilling in all of us that it's frequencies, it's frequencies.
Frequency.
It
Yeah.
is, and
Yeah.
we don't understand one bit of it.
Right.
Um, in the low and mid range, we do with our music, but that's about as far as we ever got with it. But there's a whole form of communication that goes with it that we don't have a clue. We're just not
Well,
smart enough.
well, the average human only uses a percentage of their brain, right? So let's say
Right.
it's 5 or 10%. Who knows? It- There, I've got to believe that there's been suppression. Of course, we've got programming and we've been dumbed down on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But beyond that, there's been suppression about us fully using our capacity to think. And I think we're going to have that in the very near future where we're going to have,
Yeah, you're really hitting on the ball here.
yeah,
Uh,
I know.
that's funny. I say ball. Um, you're really hitting it because that's coming.
Yeah,
There's going to be there'll be a time on this planet where people won't even talk anymore. They'll just be thinking to each other.
right.
And the minute that starts, so much of the bullshit and the borders and the cultures and the territories and all that stuff will be gone, and y'all can move together in unison on a planet. Um, one thing I found interesting about Gene Roddenberry, he was a good friend, but he was a card carrying communist. He really was a socialist. Because every planet you went to in Star Trek, think about it, one government, one world rule, one species per planet. And he's trying to tell you something. And I thought, I think you're into something there, Gene. And he said, yeah, he said, when we can learn to hear each other's thoughts, all distrust goes away
Bingo. Right.
and
Yeah.
everybody gets along with each other.
You can't trick people if they can,
Not anymore, not
right.
with that going on. And then everybody communicates how they actually feel. And people who have trouble uh, expressing their emotions will be totally understood. Wouldn't that change the world?
Totally.
So yeah, it's all coming. You know what we were supposed to be? We never got there, not yet. what were we designed to be? If we have replicators and we got transporters, we can move goods and services anywhere on the planet. Nobody needs to work anymore. You don't need economy. You don't need money in your pocket because you got all your needs met. So, what else is there for you to do? Explorers. We were supposed to be explorers. We were supposed to take off from our cradle, our crib, which was Earth, get out there and go explore the other planets and races. That's what we were supposed to do. But maybe we'll get there yet. Maybe we're just so slow and crawling out.
I don't really think it's us, the humans. What I think is that there has been a dark force here on planet Earth that has consciously held us back. They've blocked, they've interfered, they've tricked
They
us.
want to control it all. It's all about control.
Totally.
No
So,
freedoms, nothing.
yeah. So the average human is an innocent being that has been programmed and tricked its whole life.
Oh, absolutely. Conditioned.
Right. And
Classical condition.
we manifest by our thoughts and emotions and belief systems. So if we have incorrect information, we're manifesting something that wasn't supposed to be.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
It's
think that's what you're talking about. There's going to be some great stuff happening here on Earth because all the dark forces will be taken away and exposed, and then we'll learn how to be telepathic. We'll learn how to treat each other. We'll learn, not the things that we were supposed to know way back when.
yeah, it doesn't mean that you'll be rid of evil forever because the good in the universe cannot survive without the evil. They both have to be there. It's yin yang, positive, negative. They balance each other. You wouldn't know how good something is because you have nothing bad to compare it to.
Contrast.
So,
Yeah.
so the good and the evil is never going to leave. It will always be here with us because it's the way we're created. Um,
I also think we're going to have this evil exposed. So we're going to know the history of what's really happened and why it happened and who did what. And we're going to learn so much from that because
mhm,
right now we don't know the real truth. So how can we make better decisions when we don't really know the truth, right?
right.
I,
Um,
this, yeah.
you'll learn the truth when you get to this this fantastic thing coming our way.
All right.
We'll fix all that. You will get to that level you want to be at. Um, fear will be a thing of the past. Want, greed, all that
Right.
is will be in the past. It'll move. It won't be gone. It'll just relocate itself somewhere else. It'll relocate off this world onto another one. And there are probably somewhere. I know there's some worlds out there that are just pure evil. They're going to be a handful when you meet up with them.
Yeah.
Um, but this world will get cleaned up and evolve into, and it'll be the kind of world that everybody would like for it to be, like a
Right.
Star Trek world.
Right. So let's burn through some of these questions and then we'll go to the big stuff.
Sure,
I do have I have like a lot of questions here and we're going through some of them in a circuitous way. But
please.
does Pitholem have emotions?
Yeah, she. Yeah, unfortunately, I found some that I didn't want to called pissed off.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there is. Although she controls her aggressive emotions far better than we do. Good,
So
because I'd be dead, but now.
so
Um,
when you left Area 51, like was she angry at how she'd been treated?
no, not at all. She
She was
she
just
let
relieved.
go. She let go of all of it.
Yeah.
She
Wow.
just she just let go of all the crap that happened, and she felt sorry for the ones that were behind. Because she says, "Boy, they're going to have a miserable life." And I
Yeah.
said, I even asked her, "You're not pissed off at it?" She goes, "No, not at all." She
Yeah.
goes, "I just learned to let go, and you will too."
Yeah.
And I've been through a lot of crap in my life, and I've learned to let go.
Yeah.
If I hadn't, it would have eaten me alive, and I never would have been free. I would always been trapped to my negative emotions, but I finally got away from them.
Yeah, yeah. You seem like a very positive and uplifting person. And, that could be part Pitholem as well, but like you've been
Yeah,
through a lot of potentially negative situations. We'll just leave it that way. And you've come out beautifully. Like, in other words, you're happy, you're
yeah,
productive, and yeah, you can't, but I was just wondering if, like you said, she kind of works by emotion with you now, if she has
yeah.
anger in her and if that influences you at all in any way.
No, she's very careful about that because it would influence me. Um, because I'm able to understand things better,
Yeah.
constantly learning. Boy, it just doesn't ever seem to stop. And for what I understand, it never will stop. If it does,
Right.
you're in trouble. But
And
I'm constantly learning and expanding,
yeah, it's the way we're supposed to be.
and I mean, I've done so much of it for so many decades. I thought, well, God, how much more can I go? And then there are moments you'll stop and look at things and you go, the only thing I know is I don't know anything. I
Wow.
am so damn stupid. And
No,
it's just pitiful.
we're all still learning, which leads me to the next question. Does Pitholem talk with animals or communicate with animals? Because we've talked about some stories and you've talked about in your
More
book.
than you think. And she's
Yeah.
a Dr. Doolittle.
Yeah. Okay, so
She's
yes is the answer.
absolutely, yeah, big yes. And she talks to all of them, talks to snakes, talks to scorpions, things that are dangerous. And they all, you'd be surprised about some of the snakes. They actually have some very nice feelings. They get a bad rep from us. We kill all snakes, and they're kind of depressed about that, but
Oh,
they understand it. But and they let go of it. They forgive too, and it's just. But yeah, boy, she can really talk. Every time I hear that song, if we could talk to the animals, I think I know somebody does.
so she's taught, like in your stories, you had the tiger in Vietnam. She
Yeah.
like soothed him so you could get away from him. And
Oh
then,
man. Yeah.
and we,
I tell you what, y'all. You ever seen a tiger in real life? Go to the zoo. They are not the size of a house cat. They are friggin' enormous.
yeah,
The size of a living room sofa. 5, 6, 7, 800 pounds is normal. And they're all muscle and all teeth and claws. And you think you're going to outrun or beat one of them, or Daniel Boone when I killed a bar? Yeah, like sure you did. Um, he won't stand a chance. And when I came up on that particular tiger, the only thing between me and it was air. There's no glass, no bars, nothing. And you're looking at it, and you're only like less than 10 feet away. And it's looking at, well, its eyes look right into you. And it's like, oh God, you know what a rabbit feels like right before it gets eaten.
yeah.
And it's very unnerving, it does things to your head. And all I could do was just talk to it. And I did talk just like a person. I said, there are two men running, chasing me. They've got automatic weapons and they will try to kill us both. And I said, they're coming, and you got about 5 seconds. They're going to literally drop right here in front of us. And so, what do you want to do? I was looking at its face and I was watching its ears. It'd look up and the ears go down flat. It's bad news. It looked at me and the ears went straight up. And so I started backing up real slowly. And I thought, I'm going now. So I turned around on the left and I heard the men hit the ground when they came off the cliff. And all I heard was screaming and bones breaking. And you could hear the bones break. It was awful. She ate them, both of
Ugh.
them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Cats are nothing to be messed with, especially one that's bigger than you.
oh my God, this thing was about a 600 or 700 pound
Yeah.
Belgian tiger just laying there looking at you.
And then you had interaction in Washington, D.C., of
Oh
all
God.
places, with a white rhino. Like you can't make this stuff up if you
No, that is just such a crazy story. And then when I told the story, I was nosing this man and woman are in this crowd of all things Moose Lodge, and they're staring at me. And on their faces was this different look. And I finally said, "What?" And he went, "Oh my God. I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time. I saw that news report. I saw the photos, the image, and that was you that was standing there. It was all tore up. I was tore up.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, if a white rhinoceros wants to use you as a mop, you are a mop.
Right.
And she was just mopping the pavement with me. And I don't think there was any malice involved. I think she was just, like maybe I was the nuisance, like trying to push me out of the way, but I was hanging on to her. And because when she backed up the second time, and I thought she was going to come at me again, I just yelled, "Stop!" And it stopped. He looked at me and goes, "Phew," and it runs right past me around the corner and gone.
That's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. You can't make this stuff up.
No.
Yeah.
Now, when I was standing there and I heard the woman down the street yell, "Watch out." Hell, I thought I was being ran over by a white SUV. It was so big.
Yeah.
I was hanging on to it. And I'm going, "Why does this headlight look like an eyeball?" And I back up and it is an eye and it's looking at me. And I thought, "Oh my God, it's an animal."
Yeah.
And powerful. God almighty, powerful. And she went, it was a she, and she ran around the corner and was recaptured. I didn't know that. And I just limped on down to work. I could barely walk. I was just so beat up. I was in dress whites, which was about the worst color you could have had possibly have on. Now there's blood all over, road tar, dirt, grime, everything. And walk in and the admiral's writing at his desk. I'll tell him, you know, I'm Adair reporting to duty. I'll be with you in a minute. And he finally looks up and he goes, "What in the hell happened to you?" And I said, "Well, I got mugged by a white rhinoceros on Pennsylvania Avenue in front of the White House." And so he he just tells me, "Here, sign this. You signed in. Come back tomorrow at 9 a.m. We'll try this again." And so he's telling Senator Strong Thurmond this story because he was, I just got through doing a debriefing and Thurmond asked my admiral, he's pointing to me, he said, "Did somebody drop him on his head? What the hell is he talking about?" In the debriefing. And I was telling him what happened. Crazy story. Every story I have is crazy like this.
Right.
And so the admiral tells Senator, "Let me tell you a story about the first day he showed up at work here." And he said, he came in, he's tore all to pieces. I didn't know what was going on. Says he's mugged by a rhinoceros on Pennsylvania Avenue. So I told him, "Come back tomorrow." And I was driving home, Senator, thinking, my God, the Navy sent me a madman to work with. Oh, what am I going to do with this? And so he said, I got into the house, poured myself a drink, turned on the TV, and a woman came on for a news report and said, "Today, the Washington Zoo was transporting a very rare white rhinoceros, which got loose, mugged a pedestrian on Pennsylvania Avenue, went around the corner, and was recaptured." And the admiral told the senator, "I dropped my glass, I dropped my bottle." He said,
I'm giving
"Yeah,
it to you.
the man was telling us the honest to God truth." So what we've learned from him, Senator, if Adair ran into here and said, "Godzilla's coming down the street stomping on buildings," we're not going to run out and look. We're going to run to the basement as fast as we can.
Yep.
We have found over the last 20 years with him, the crazier stuff he tells us, the more it checks out. He is some kind of senator. He's a human lightning rod for the weird and unexplained. It hunts him down and strikes him. And you can tell when it's coming because stuff starts happening all around him. And we've gotten so good at it, we can tell. My secretaries caused him to get his name, his handle in aircraft because he flies. And I walked out there and they said, "Oh, Officer Adair's coming in. He's going to start telling us what happened in his adventures." And when he does, all the papers in this room start whirling in the air like he's a human cyclone. So we put all these weights on all the papers so we can listen to him. And the admiral went, "Really?" So I go out to my plane and painted on the side under the window is my rank, and it says uh, Cyclone Adair. And I thought, oh my God, there's my name, Cyclone.
It's so funny.
And that's how I got it. Came from the secretaries of Sinclair and Flint. It's just nuts. Just whole life just went like this all the time, continuously. And I got to where it just becomes normal. People would look at me and see some weird stuff happening, and they would, they're going to need therapy. And they're looking at me, what is wrong with you? You're acting like, I said, it's just every day. This is just normal, typical day at the office. And so, yeah, a lot of close friends been around me long enough. They've seen it happen.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you, boy, he said, after we saw the movie Forrest Gump, when we see the stuff happening with Adair, we lean over and tell him, "Run, Forrest, run." Because it's starting and it will take hold. And
yeah.
But he's had, God, some of the adventures and stuff I've had. My God, a lot of the stuff, you think the missions were interesting. It was all the crap going on before and after the missions that really got interesting. And it's just, what a life.
Yeah.
I've
Did
had.
did Pitholem ever take over your body or your voice?
No, never. There's a reason for that. She's a big stickler on free will. So she doesn't want to interfere with my free will, and I always have free choice about everything. And she'll even ask me, "What do you want to do?" Normally, it's whatever she wants to do because she's smarter than I am,
Yeah.
and she'll figure a way out. But yeah, no, she won't do that, and she's never done anything that embarrassed me with the public. I asked her that because I get up and do talks, and a couple times she's taken over for a few minutes, but I thought, don't say anything that will embarrass me. And instead, it was brilliant humor. Oh my God, her humor is so brilliant. It's like Alan Alda, uh, what's his name, Hawkeye. It's just rapid fire. We had there were two PhDs in the front row that I knew both these guys, and they're real PhDs from. One was from MIT, the other one was from uh, Great Western University, both PhDs. And I looked down at them, and she was going at it, and she went, "Looky here, dual PhDs. We have a paradox." And I was sitting there, I went, "That's brilliant."
Yeah.
Paradox. And
Yeah.
then the woman next to the paradox was laughing so hard she ran out of air. She was totally red, couldn't get any air. And I jumped off the stage and I looked at her and said, "You ran out of air." And she's shaking her head, "Yes." "You're going to die." She's laughing and shaking her head, "Yes." I said, "Go ahead and die. I got Daniel Brinkley outside. We'll have you back in time for lunch." And stuff like that. I had no idea I was going to say that, but brilliant humor. She just she has a lot of fun with me at times.
Did she tell you that they tried to kill her last week?
You know, I was feeling bad, and she asked me if I was okay. I said, I don't know. I think I'm just depressed. This something not right. You okay? And she goes, yeah, I will be. And so the answer is no. I wasn't aware of it,
Mm. I think
but
it
I do get feelings though.
I think it was Friday. And of course, I didn't know anything about it, but Smarty put a post out and then I asked him about it. Let's just say it was Friday of last week. It might have, pretty sure it was. And
Okay.
he said that they were trying to dump acid on her. And
Well, that'd be upsetting because in order to do that, you'd have to dump it on me because
yeah,
she's inside. And
well, they, officially don't know that, but they wanted to destroy the ship, if you will, or her part of it. And they were trying to pour acid on her. And of course, Marty and his crew intervened, and five of them didn't make it out of there.
hmm,
So I don't know if you
um,
can confirm that.
I really can't. I don't know.
Right. I was just
There's
a curiosity question because,
but I was depressed Friday.
yeah,
And normally if I get depressed, something bad's happening somewhere.
yeah,
I'm just not told about it, but I get the feelings of it.
yeah,
And I've
yeah.
had yeah,
So
remember I
maybe,
said earlier I had a very difficult last few weeks here.
yeah,
That was one of them.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, it's been
So perhaps you picked up on that, and of course you didn't know the details, but there was
right.
an intervention on her behalf, your behalf, you know, and which leads to, really one of my last questions, but how will you feel when Pitholem has her own physical body again and leaves you? Will you feel like, I guess, lonely
Oh
or
yeah, I've been worrying about this.
yeah,
I have I asked her about that. I said, I'm going to have a hole the size of the Grand Canyon in me
yeah,
if you leave. I mean, I've grew 54 years of me around you, and now it's gone.
right.
I said, and she had the most interesting answer. She said, you always wanted to be married to somebody, and they asked you how long you've been married, and you would like to have said 55, 60 years, which I would. I'm just a long run person. And I never got there because everybody died. Um,
Not funny, but it is funny,
yeah,
Yeah, that's funny.
if the guys lived long enough, I'd have still been there.
Yeah, yeah.
If nobody died, I'd be back with the original third wife. Um, I would never left. But anyway, yeah, I asked her. I said, "How lonely am I going to be?" And she goes, "Not at all." She goes, "We're going to make arrangements for that." And I have no idea what that meant, but
Yeah,
she's already thinking about it because
yeah.
she said, "Yeah, you're going to feel the how she put it. I'm going to feel the north wind blow through me." And I'm like, "Oh God, I don't want that." And
North
she said,
wind?
"Yeah, it'd be very cold and lonely." Uh,
Oh, okay.
and I went, "Okay, I don't need to feel that." Um, you know, somebody I became good friends with, the name dropping thing, but Michael Jackson, of all people. And it's long, it's a long story how we met, but his sister liked me, Janet, and but there was a lyric in one of his songs, "Stranger in Moscow," and it said, how does it feel when you're cold and lonely inside?"
Hmm.
And he picked up on that, I think, from me.
Smarty says you're both going to be fine. Don't worry about it.
Different kind of song. It's not a normal Michael Jackson song, and I think I might have had some influence with that. Because he was asking me what was it like in Moscow. If you're O and I and you're in Moscow, that's very dangerous. In the 60s, oh God, the Cold War was red hot. You could got a bullet put through your head in an instant. But fortunately, I didn't have that. And because I ended up liking the Soviets, I even got invited by the KGB to join because they said I was so much like a. They said you're a Soviet at heart, and I liked the way they handled the Iran situation when they took our embassy over. Now, this is a little details you might not pick up on the internet, but if you research it, you'll find it. They held the Soviet embassy for 2 days. That was it. Let go. Why? Because uh, I Ivor he went to work and he had a pair of pruning shears.
Ooh.
And what he did, he grabbed the the relatives of the college students holding our people hostage, or holding the Russian embassy hostage. He started milling back grandma's fingers and ears and stuff. And guess what? After a couple of mailings, they let everybody go. And then he gave me the shears. I still got them. And he said, "You use them, David. You know what to do with it." I said, "I can. I'll be arrested if I did that." I said, "But I sure admire the way you handle it." And our people were held for what, 479 days or something stupid thing. Here they only had the Soviet people for 2 days and they let them go.
Yeah.
He
They
said,
don't mess around, do they?
"They don't. No, they don't. I admire that about them.
Yeah.
Um, but they can be over hard at times. Like when they shot that Korean airliner down because it straight into their territory. It didn't threaten them, but they blew it away. And that's when it's too much. But I do like the directness. I think go better than we do.
Yeah. Would you say space is different than what we've been taught?
Absolutely. It's nothing what you expect it to be. Um, it's huge, it's fast. You got that part right. But extremely unforgiving area. If you make a mistake, it's 250 degrees below zero, total vacuum, 250 degrees above, in between the terminator, which is the line between light and dark. So on this side is 250 degrees. On the other side is 250 degrees below zero. 500 degrees difference, total vacuum, very hostile environment.
I've talked with Smarty about this, and this is what he says. We can breathe in space without spacesuits. We don't, you know how they show us either imploding or
Right. Well,
freezing?
you got to be something other than a bipedal anthropoid because you won't make it. You,
Yeah, he
you
said,
might be a spirit or something. You could certainly do that.
I don't know. He says that you can do it and breathe out there, that we can breathe underwater. We can do all sorts of things that we don't know that we can do. In
Yeah, I don't know of anybody that can breathe in a vacuum.
oh, right. It'll be interesting to find out, right?
Yeah. What incredible superpowers you'd have.
Mm.
As for me, if I'm underwater, I gotta have a snorkel, if I'm in space, I need a space suit. Um, I haven't learned to do that yet, not from
Yeah,
Pitholem or
but
anybody.
maybe in a couple months. You never know. You never know what's
Well,
gonna
that's true. That's one thing I have learned is that what the way you see things and think things are, hell, in a month later could be completely opposite. You
Yeah,
just don't know.
I know. I know.
And I've learned not. The only thing like I said, the only thing I've learned is I know nothing at all.
Right. Well, again, part of it's because we've been taught nothing. Our programming is space is cold, space is empty, space is this, space is that. And so, we don't know what the real truth is yet.
No, um, we really don't. It's as far as the average human being, we live in a bubble.
Yeah.
We don't know what's for real or not real out there.
Smarty says we will have what's called, supernatural powers. We will do things that we see in the movies and that the superheroes do. And we can do that naturally. We just don't have the belief system, or we don't you know what I mean? We don't have it yet, but we will.
Uh, might be a lot of truth to that. There's things coming
Yeah.
for us as a race that's going to change absolutely everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and when you increase your friends, the loop of friends you have, and you increase it to another galactic setting, then all kinds of things become possible.
That's true.
And we're very confined by our senses and our 3D reality with all the forces that's involved.
Yep.
You know, you bomb detonates, you get blowed up with it. May not be true. All this stuff, what he's alluding to about superpowers, could be you just have the ability to operate outside known the classical physics doesn't apply to you anymore.
Known parameters, because of
Yeah,
course we've been taught incorrectly.
right.
So yeah, and so one like frequencies, okay, we only have a limited range of sight, a limited range of hearing. We know dogs and cats have a wider range of sight and hearing than we do. And
They do.
so how do we know what we really should have? We
We
don't.
don't. We don't. The answer is we don't.
Yeah.
Um, we're handicapped so badly.
Yeah.
Stuff we have no clue to know.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard enough time just dealing with the normal things where they're normal,
Yeah, I know.
and I've been exposed to a lot of stuff most people would have blown a fuse on by now,
Yeah.
and still can take it all. But there's just the possibilities of things are. Mr. Spock said it, infinite, infinite possibilities, infinite possibilities, infinite combinations. Um, True.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I wish
So have you ever used to your conscious knowledge a Stargate or a portal?
not that I'm aware of. I don't think I have.
Hmm.
Um, there have been moments where I'd be somewhere and I'm going, "How did I get this?" So I just refer to Bud Hopkins, not around anymore, but missing time. I thought, I've had some missing times, and I think that's because I've had direct interaction with some super, abilities of some other technologies, and the result was missing time.
Yeah.
How did I get to where I'm at? Wait a minute. So I go back, I default to something that Pitholem taught me long ago. She says, set a default button on letting go. The default back to just let it go and not worry about it.
Yeah, I guess.
And I do that all the time. I have to. I'd go crazy. But the result is I'm fairly normal and stable
Totally.
because I
And
let go.
doing videos like these help us, the regular people, let's call it, expand our consciousness and understanding. Like
Yeah.
you're telling the story and it allows to a larger thought process or a more expansive thought process. And it helps many. It ripples out from what we're doing. So it's
Yeah.
very important. Um, and I appreciate, you telling us. I know sometimes it's not always easy to talk about, but so fascinating for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. So have you ever interacted with we're going to say non-cloaked extraterrestrial species? I know you've worked with those that have been cloaked because those are what we'll call the bad guys in the story.
Well, I got into a fight one time in a kitchen with a reptilian that was in reptilian form. It's like a lizard.
Well, that definitely qualifies for this.
Yeah. Guess what? They don't do well when hot oil hits them.
Oh, when was this about?
This was long time ago. God, 20 years ago, I guess.
Mm.
And this thing was it was just mean. And it had locked onto this female and was just stalking and dominating her. And she had come over to visit. I was in the kitchen. That thing decided it wanted to remove me. And it found out that I could fight back.
Ooh,
Man, Pitholem told me to grab that hot oil and throw it on him and see what happens because he has transformed into 3D reality, which means he's now vulnerable to all the other stuff.
right.
Newtonian physics takes over. Boiling oil is going to burn the hell out of your skin, especially a reptile, because they're cold blooded. They feel the temperatures more. He felt that damn thing and it burnt him up.
Yeah.
He never came back and he let
Where
go of the
where
girl.
was this? Like what country or state or whatever?
This was in California.
Okay.
I was in my apartment and it was on the third floor. And it was just first time I ever had an encounter with something that was I have ran into other alien entities before, but not in a 3D form where we could actually physically grab hold of each other.
Mm. Yeah.
And well, that thing was tough. It was strong.
Yeah.
It looked like a from Star Trek a Gorn.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, that's all the hell I needed, a Gorn in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But you know what? Gorns can't take hot grease. Really
Well,
can't.
where do you think they're getting all these Star Trek stories, I wonder?
You know, I
You're
talked
friends with Gene
to,
Roddenberry too, so did you ever ask?
well, I was a friend of Gene, and something we both agreed on that I said, you guys have such a variety of aliens out there. When we meet our first contact, it's going to look like it came from Star Trek because they've hit it so close so many times. And Gene started laughing. He said, yeah, I think you're right on that. It's probably going to look something very similar, something we can relate to. Um, although I did a program on alien entities, and depending on the world they're from, they could easily not be anything we can relate to, like a massive jelly laying on the ground, or a cloud. It could be all kinds of things. We just don't know. Because we don't have anything to interrelate with it. We have a tendency to make everything three-dimensional, solid, because that's the way we perceive things.
Right.
But in reality, in that world, you're going to meet things that just don't even register on your dials.
Mm.
You know,
Well, there's a lot of like we'll call them invisible
yeah,
things, around us all the time anyway.
interdimensional would be another one.
Interdimensional is a good way to say it.
They
Yeah.
would not show up on anything of ours
Mm.
because we're trying to pigeonhole it into our dimensional findings,
Yeah.
and they won't register.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they're not there.
Yeah.
Um, we find that to be true about a lot of things. You can't see radiation, but that doesn't mean it's not there.
Right.
You can detect it with certain instruments, but you can't see it, smell it, taste it, or feel it. But it will melt your organs and your bones in a matter of hours. So that's something you have to be aware of. Just because you can't read it on your instruments doesn't mean it's not there. You can feel the wind, but you can't see it.
Right.
You can see trees bending to its power, but you can't see it or smell it or taste it. But it's there.
I'm assuming you've seen a lot of like unusual things that were probably, we'll call them extraterrestrials, interdimensional, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw the physical reptilian one, but you didn't see probably a lot of them that have been around as well. And a lot of them, of course, have been cloaked. like uh Mr. Rudolph cloaked.
Well, I tell you what, though, if he was cloaked, he was poking through his cloak because his attitude, his
Yeah,
mannerism, the way he would think and do things were just monsters.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
For any human to do that, like you said in the factory or whatever, to kill somebody and leave the body there, like that's pretty
it's
uh
demonic.
yeah. And
It's more than human.
yeah, so he took great delight in killing, but he
He
was
did.
capable
He
of
and
other
that
things.
was the other weird, strange or frightening thing.
Yeah.
He was he laughed when people were in misery or being killed, and it was funny to him. And that's a sociopath.
Yeah. But
And
you can feel the energy, like you can feel the dark entities, you can feel the light entities. The
yeah.
ones you're just like in awe of, you're just so excited to be around them. The dark ones obviously are scary and nasty. Who wants to be around that?
Well, here's some of that you're gonna find interesting. You know the lie detector tests that they use on Jerry Springer and Maury and all that. I brought that to television. Yes. Now, how did that happen? Well, let's go back to about year 2000, and I was on the Queen Latifah show, and the Israelis had brought me this software package called Truster, sitting over here on the shelf, and you download it in something like a Palm Pilot. You're standing at the border, and somebody pulls in. You ask them, "Oh, are you on vacation?" Yes, and you're recording their voice. Are you enjoying it? Yes. And what you're doing, you're getting a baseline of what their voice print is. Then you go, why are you coming to Israel? Who are you going to see? Da, 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 da. And then you start getting all this inflection, so you know there's something's up. Well, anyway, trust your work. And it's better than a lie detector because if a person didn't know something, it would say unsure. Lie detectors can't do that. It's yes or no. That's it. Now, this thing could interpret, oh, this person's unsure. How's it doing that? Algorithms
Is
determine.
that is it something you invented?
No, it's something the Mossad invented
Oh,
um,
okay, okay.
with the Israeli CIA. So anyway, I showed it to the producers at King World, which own Queen Latifah and all these other shows. And we called up a friend of theirs that was in bed, and we asked them questions, and it just spot on, dead ringer the person completely. Even when they hit something, they said they're not going to know this answer. Trust her, we'll figure it out. And sure enough, it says not sure, 86% not sure. And they went, damn, this thing works. I said, yeah. So they put me on Queen Latifah's first show, and she's got this boyfriend girlfriend, and the boyfriend's sitting there, and I'm talking to him, I'm getting his baseline, and Queen Latifah looked at it and she goes, "Why is it all straight lines?" And I went, "Is it not working?" I said, "It's working." Well, what's wrong? It's him. He's a sociopath. He's not registering because it's flatline. So after the show, I told the girl, see, the guy had killed her bird, a cockatiel, and he bought another one, looked just like it, but it wasn't. She could tell it wasn't her bird. I said, he killed your bird. He's replaced it with another, but he's a sociopath. He's going to kill you. You have got to leave him this week or he'll kill you. 3 weeks later, Queen Latifah called me and the girl was killed by him. So yeah, I've so where did the lie detector thing come from? Me. I brought it to television. Because after that, they started using lie detectors on uh, oh, what's his name? Steve something. Um, Steve Wilkos, and then Mari, and then all owned by the same producers, and then Jerry Springer. And but they use it mostly on Mari and Steve Wilkos. now they've got other programs using it. But I brought the whole concept of bringing a light detector in the year 2000 to King World.
And that's like for reality TV mostly.
Yeah. And I just did it because I want to know what the guy was doing. And my luck, the first person I put on the machine is a sociopath. But I nailed it, and I said, he'll kill you if you don't leave. He killed her. Queen Latifah became a believer after that.
It's awful. Awful.
It is.
Yeah, the girl didn't listen.
No, she didn't.
Yeah.
Didn't believe me.
Yeah.
And I told her the machines tell me the truth. And I know what sociopaths will do. He's going to get scared that you're going to close in on him and he's going to kill you. And a sociopath will shoot his mother dead and eat dinner right in front of her.
Yeah.
No conscience. It just doesn't bother.
No remorse, right?
None.
Right.
It doesn't even show up on the dials.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, you've had an interesting and unusual life, and
Yeah.
we've agreed it's not over yet, okay?
No, it's not.
So
Hey,
is there anything you would have done differently?
oh God. Yeah, there's woulda, shoulda, coulda type
Yeah.
thoughts. Probably yes, but the answer still be um stuff that causes you pain. Sometimes you need that pain to make up who you are. Um, or you suffer bad things, but they form you into a better person.
You're stronger afterward. You're stronger and
Right.
stronger,
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't try second guessing any of that stuff because there's so many entities involved with me. I don't know which way the things would have went.
Mm.
But could I change a few things? Yeah, but I wouldn't do it because when you make a decision, should I go left or should I go right? It determines on what you are in the future. And if you start messing with that, you will become unstable. So I don't want to do that. So
Well, you'd second guess yourself, you know what I mean? Like,
sometimes
yeah.
with me, I'm my case, it's 3 and 4 times because there's all kinds of people weighing in on stuff.
I like watching the time travel movies because then, they go back in time to try to correct stuff and then they screw it up worse and it gets confusing.
Butterfly effect.
Yeah. And you wouldn't want to do that. I don't know if that kind of stuff is true or not, but
I wouldn't want to find out.
I know we had talked before and you had great regret about blowing up the rock at Pitholem, which I can understand. But obviously it was the logical choice. You had your back up against the wall and there were no repercussions at that point. And if you didn't do that, that would have, you potentially could have led to the death, not you personally, but your invention.
Billions. Yeah, and it's just
yeah.
If I had made choices, I could have made myself an awful lot of money, set myself up forever, and been a 1%er by now. But I didn't come here to do all that. I just came here to try to make things better. But yeah, I do regret things. Yeah, I regret I had to take Pitholem out, my engine, because it would have given you all Star Trek type world.
Well,
and
different leadership, different, a situation that might not have been the case. But even your subsequent inventions, a lot of them were basically you weren't allowed to proceed with them because they would have helped people.
There's a lot of them you don't even know about. The first 3 machines I built, what happened to them? The first one was blown up, pistol. The second one was cut up, and he told you about that one. Third one was stolen. And after that, I had decided I quit, and I did not build another machine since. I could have built stuff that would have just rocked this planet, but I chose not to because it just seems like it wasn't the right time. I was born out of sequence.
Right.
I shouldn't have been here.
That-
Um,
yeah.
I don't know.
That's why I was saying, I think this whole thing, it's a timing thing for
Yeah.
this point in history right now. Like, um, you know, the story of Pitholem's getting out there. Your life story is out there. You have interacted with King Smarty, and
Hmm.
now you said that there's something pretty exciting coming down the road for us.
Oh, there is. Oh God. Y'all not gonna believe what's coming. And if you think my story is hard to believe, wait till y'all have one of your own, which you're about to.
Okay.
And it's gonna be fantastic. Um, it's gonna be good. There's gonna be some scary moments, and there'll be learning experiences on both sides. But from that, you'll end up being in the whole a much better person. Um,
Can you tell us more than that, or it's just going to be a good thing?
all you need to know. It's a good thing. And it's coming, and it's going to happen. It's absolutely going to happen.
Okay.
And I know people have been sitting here waiting for decades, but I have a friend that's been waiting for millions of years, and finally their family getting to us. And I made a sarcastic remark to her. Boy, she slapped my ass. I told her, I said, wow, took what, 40, 50 million years, 70 million years for your family to get here? I said, it was not exactly fast, was it? And she said, here comes the slap. She goes, David, not everybody in the universe runs on a Julius Caesar calendar. Whoa, buddy, did that do it? And not every organism in the universe runs on a chronological timeline, linear.
Mm-mm.
16, 17, 18, 19. She said, most beings in the universe hear that and they go, that's a lie. There's nothing that lives like that. It's the only way we live on a linear chronological timeline. And that's the only way we know how to live.
That's right.
And it may be we're the only things in the universe that does that, which is why they find us so interesting
Hmm.
because nothing else lives like that. They didn't even think it could live like that. Well, what do you mean the others doing? They live past, future, and present all at once, all the time. I can't even imagine what that's like.
No, you can't imagine because we think of it like you said, linearly.
Yeah, we're on a linear
Mm.
chronological timeline
Yeah,
that's so rigid that it cannot deviate. From age 1 to age 90,
yeah.
linear in chronological order 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And we may be the only things in the universe that lives like that. Isn't that a mind concept?
So you implied that Pitholem's family is on her way, and you kind of implied that they have a different time.
Oh, yeah.
So like
What?
maybe a million years of our time is like an hour their time or
Yeah.
something.
Because I pointed out to her rudely, which was a mistake. I said, hey, when one of our pilots go down, hell, the same day we're in motion to go get them. Same day. And here you've been sitting there for how many millions of years?
Yeah.
And she goes, well, not everybody runs on a Julius Caesar calendar. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Or live on a linear chronological timeline. And suddenly I felt about that big.
Well,
It
it was actually a pretty good answer, you know?
was an excellent answer,
Yeah.
a truthful answer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, you had said to Dr. Sala in his interview with you that Pitholem had told you she was a princess. All right.
Yeah,
And we were like, I could see the wheels turning. He's trying to figure out, like, how can a ship engine be a princess, you know? And it is a good question, is it? She's more of a consciousness. And
Prince Charles is a pilot. How could Prince be a pilot? Because he's serving his country.
Yeah.
No big deal. If you can't get that through your head, So how could a princess be what might look like a laborer? It's because she's in servitude.
Yeah.
They have service too, and also it's a great way to learn things.
Well, she's probably seen a lot of the galaxies and
And royalties don't like, not all royalties want to live above the subjects. They like living with the subjects.
mm,
So I thought, oh boy. And
yeah.
I just, when she said that, I was a little taken back. I thought, wow, I thought you were just a maintenance worker. But then again, Prince Harry is a pilot in the British Navy. He has a rank, but he's just a pilot. So, doesn't even have command of a squadron,
mm.
just his own aircraft. So that was yeah, I could say I was put in my place again.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's just a curiosity question because it's hard to understand. Now you're working on artwork right now of
Yeah.
what you saw. So I know this is hard. How long will it be before that comes out? Like how long?
Okay. Well, we just finished 6 illustrations that shows the time I entered the hangar and went underground and saw Pitholem there and come back up. 6 pictures there. And let me tell you, the detail was enormous in each drawing. I had to think and remember so much because a good illustration artist, they need everything they can think of to help them guide the drawing.
Yeah.
And we got complicated things worked out. The thing that biggest stumbling block for them was a door. The door, which was built like an iris of a camera. They
Yeah.
just could not get that concept right. And fortunately, I knew clips in movies of where they could go and look at things to see how
Yeah.
of what I was talking about, because the particular problems they've worked out in the film, the illusion of it, or at least how it actually operated.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. But because of my memory, there are literally hundreds of drawings to do yet. Things I can remember, and I remember everything. There was a measurement once took on this door device I worked on 40 years ago, and we had to calculate its ability to swing left and right. Anyway, the answer to that door is 10 3/8 inch. I remember that 50 years back. That's the kind of memory I got. And somebody said, wait a minute, you just gave me a precise measurement, 10 3/8 inch, of a door arc that you worked on 50 years ago. That's exactly right. I remember clear as day. And I go, that is here, and the artists that were working with me going, how do you remember so much? I don't know. It's just there. How do you remember eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? It's just there.
Mm.
It's, started same time. It's weird. I can't explain it. Don't even try to explain it. But it works and it's there and it functions and we can use it.
You had mentioned before that you and a team of scientists had developed all these products and things that basically NASA, you'd invent it and then NASA would say, stop working on it.
Yeah, they did.
And so my question is, do you think they took it and maybe used it to trade off-world or give it to off-world or
Possibly, but I've checked on all of them. They're still there, but they could have replicated it. Yeah,
okay.
maybe. Hope so.
Mm.
It's really good. It works well.
Mm.
But I don't know. I don't know what evil does, things like that. But yeah, I replicated a lot. I mean, I've made a lot of things. But what I was going to tell Shorty was before we go on and do all those things again, we need to back up and fix something first. There's a couple things we need to fix.
Okay.
And they're bigger fish to fry. One is the electric grid. There's a way to fix that. I have in my capability enough manpower and people to do it. All we need is funding. $10 billion, and you will have an absolute protected grid, and not just the grid. There are sensors designed that can watch the surface of water, and anything except for a water bug that lands on it, it will tell us that it's there.
Yeah.
Why is that important? Your reservoirs throw in fentanyl by 5-gallon bucketfuls.
Mhm.
There's no protection right now, none.
Mm.
You could kill millions before you know you got a problem.
Don't give them any new ideas.
Well, if I know it, they know it.
They've
Yeah,
already tried putting stuff in the water supply, and
I
they
bet
are
they
putting stuff
have.
in the water supply as we speak. But
Oh, they are. I wouldn't doubt it. There's a way. But see, not only can I fix the grid, I can fix the water supply, the pipelines for LP gas, propane, all that stuff. I can fix that too.
okay,
Um, and I got the manpower and the people to do it.
okay.
They're just waiting for somebody to lead.
I think a lot of that is we'll just say in process, okay?
Yeah, work in progress.
Yeah, and so when the time is right, I'm sure you'll be you know, you'll learn about it.
Well, I could sure help a lot because
Yeah.
politics are horrendous in the grid.
Mhm.
Um, oh, the senator, what is her name? Mikowski of Alaska. She is the chairman of the committee on the grid. She has killed you, all of y'all. Senator Mikowski has murdered you and your children at least 4 times over now. She has squashed the idea of
Oh,
Trumper.
did we lock up
Get,
again? I didn't hear what you said. She squashed the idea of,
yeah. So how did this never Trumper get in power of the subcommittee of on the grid? And the answer is really scary. Her husband had a heart attack and she took his job.
Mm.
She's not even an elected official. And
Yeah.
now she's sitting on the committee of the electric grid. Won't tell me there ain't powers at work.
I think, well, again, according to Smarty, we're going to be having free energy devices, and he's been working on them. So, and I don't know any of the technical stuff or whatever, but I'm sure when the time is right, he'll be contacting you about that.
Yeah.
What he said is that you'll be able to freely play around, invent, and develop new products and things that people can use, and it will benefit society. And you won't be censored like you have been in the past.
Well, you're going to like what I just did this afternoon.
Okay.
Plugged into the socket closest to the fuse box is a device I built. There's another one here on the other end of the house, sets up a field. This was all originally thought of by Nikola Tesla. And if it works, my power bill will be 50% less.
Mm.
What would those little things be worth?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, there's a lot of great things coming down the road.
oh, there is. Boy, there
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of vibranium before?
I've heard of it. I've even seen it.
Yeah,
But I don't really know what it is. I don't even, I'm not even sure if it's on the atomic table.
I don't think it is.
I don't believe it is.
Yeah,
But that stuff lights up a little flashlight. It glows in the dark. It does all kinds of stuff. Um, and hardly know anything about it.
yeah,
But that's so true in this world. There's so many things out there. Well, my God, look at the whole list of stuff that I do nobody's even heard of.
yeah, yeah. I know. And now, is there anything else you wanted to tell us specifically about Pitholem, the entity at this point? Um,
Not really, unless somebody's got questions.
yeah, I've been watching and there's been comments, but not, questions. But like I said, Smarty has developed the Pitholem ball. You do not need to purchase the ball unless you want one, but you basically can work with Pitholem telepathically. And then, again, down the road, she will be providing us with information, guidance, answers to questions, schematics, and all that kind of stuff. So she'll be a great boon to society.
Wow.
Yeah. And that is partially due to you with what you did.
Yeah, I was gonna say, try living with her.
Yeah.
That,
I mean, if you weren't the lifeboat for her to get her out of Area 51, I mean, maybe she would have figured out another way. But we wouldn't probably be having this conversation.
she's pretty happy with the way it turned out.
Mm.
Seems like. I just told her I hope I wasn't a disappointment.
How could
But
you be?
well, you don't know. You're just a human being.
Yeah.
But she thought she made a good choice.
Yeah. I think she made a great choice. And I mean, you have strong values that you've stood up for, and you weren't able to be bought, sold, or persuaded um, to go against your values, which is really unusual.
Yeah,
But that was, and of course your intelligence and your love for people and all of that have helped too. So like all of your stories bring that out. And I know we were talking on the phone and you had like a lot of insecurity about various things. You have done so many things for people in the world that we don't even know about. I mean, we're here now.
yeah. I have. I've gotten some emails from fans who are in their 80s. They've been following me for 40 years,
Yeah.
50 years. And I'm going, you're kidding. They said, no, the only reason I'm still here is because I just can't wait to see what you're going to do next.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm going, oh God. But I've had some of the nicest things said to me by fans that have been fans for 50, 60 years. And that amazes me because I would have thought long ago they would have forgotten about me, my story, the whole thing. And Google said, are you kidding? And he said, the search engines are on fire. And he said, it seems like every time you turn around, it cranks up.
Right.
He said, you eclipsed Justin Bieber on the search engines. I said, not the Beeve. I like the Beeve. I don't want to be doing better than the Beeve. And he said, I can see why they like you out there. He said, you're fun to talk to. But he said, it's no joke. He said, we had to move you out of the category your name was in to a different category called persons of interest. And I went, oh God, did I kill somebody? And they said, no, it's just you're cranking the search engines up so much. He said, you're in the top 2%. And he goes, that's quite a bit for a person that's not even actively trying to promote things. I said,
Right.
active? I said, hell, I don't do anything.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
just
I
live
said,
your life.
I just, I'm just here. And it's like, I don't even, listen to what I'm telling you. if you don't even remember my name, that's fine. It's not important. What's important is what I'm telling you. So, and the guy in Google said, well, buddy, they know your name. Your name is all over the place.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
He said, I'd like to meet you one day. And I went, okay. So it's just, I don't know. I'm a little taken back, flattered, embarrassed sometimes. People pay that much attention to me. But
Yeah.
I
Well,
even told one audience, they were such fans, I told them, I said, y'all got to find another life. I mean, gee whiz. If I'm it, that's bad shape.
yeah.
And they all laughed, and nobody's budging anywhere.
Do you think Pitholem knows about what her mission is here on Earth right now? What she'll be doing in the next few years?
It's something because it changed when she got shot down and they saw where she was landing. She got different orders, and so she said, I have different parameters now on things I need to do. And I said, okay. So I said, I know how that is. I've been on missions where they change the mission orders.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she said, yeah, due to circumstances, I got mission order changes. And I said, okay. And she goes, you're part of it. I
Mm.
went, oh, okay. So, um, yeah, boy, I will sorely miss that entity when it's not around anymore. Um, I definitely wouldn't want to stick around without her. Been such a friend for 54 years.
I think we are going to be so grateful for her in the future. Like again, I don't know. I know some things and I don't know everything, believe it or not, but I think we're going to be very grateful for her assistance. And of course, you were instrumental on bringing her out of Area 51, working with
Yeah,
her. She helped you, you helped her. It was very symbiotic and
yeah. She told me, she goes, we were driving away and she started laughing. I said, what's so funny? She goes, they didn't see that coming. I said, I guess not. God almighty.
Did you ever tell your parents about Pitholem? Like, did they know?
Not a word.
Whoa.
Never said a word. For wives and everybody, I never said a word to anybody. I just
Oh.
sat on it for decades, quiet. And because I didn't want people to know, because they if they knew, they would probably think I'm a fruitcake or something, and not want to listen to the other important stuff I had to do.
Yeah.
But to be honest, all the stuff that I can do didn't come from me. Uh, Pitholem and her family and their wealth of knowledge, she allowed me access to it. So I was able to think outside the box. Pitholem picked me up and set me outside the box and said, here, learn out here. And God, the electronic crystals, the pharmaceuticals, the metals, it's across the board. I just kept going.
Does
And
she show you like a graphic or a picture of stuff? Like, or like, how does she show you stuff or describe things to
just
you?
one thing at a time, we talked about problems.
Yeah.
I said, and she'd ask me, what would you do if you could solve these problems? And she said, think like if you were a sorceress, you're a sorcerer, and that you could just wave arms and you want to do things. And I said, okay. And then out of that, she said, here's how you can make that happen. Then the mechanicals came in, which was really cool. Um, it was a good thing I had learned so much about uh, everything from theoretical astrophysics to quantum physics, differential mechanics, celestial engineering,
Mm.
calorimetry of theoretical technical horsepower. All this stuff I've learned, which was solid math and learning on our part as humans. But once I had all that collected together in me, then when she introduced this stuff, it was just a matter of connecting all the dots. And we could do these things. And she said, look how far your species had come, and they don't even know it yet. Said, yeah, it's kind of cool. One of the things I figured out, I answered a riddle that Einstein left. And it goes, how can you go millions of times faster than the speed of light without breaking the speed of light so you can remain constant in Newtonian physics? I figured
Yeah,
it
I
out.
got it. Wait a minute.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was about the same way. And I said, I know how to do that. And then I said, so I grabbed a piece of paper and showed somebody how I could do this. And they're going, God almighty, Dave, that's crazy. I understand it and I don't need any more education.
Isn't that cool?
And I said, you're able, how do you take something so complex and make it so simple to understand? I said, I have no idea. I guess I'm just a simple man. But I always thought uh, a lot of these brilliant professors we've had through our lives were really not that smart because we had to invent computers and massive calculators and advanced in metallurgy and trigonometry and all that stuff, just to a point where we could get up to where they were. If they were really smart, they would have taken where they were and walked back to where you are and brought everybody with them at the same time. That would be smart. And that's what I've always tried to do. I didn't want to accelerate so far ahead of you. You know, if anybody see David, he's out there so far, we can't even see him. Well, that's no good. You come back and you pick up everybody and show them exactly how you did it so they understand it. And then they can move forward with you. And the whole society benefits.
Yeah, many ideas like more people could create better things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Two heads are better
Uh,
than one, you know?
right. And it wasn't just enough to invent the thing, but then you have to write the manual, how to use it. And that's where you really have to get good at it because you got to think like people do, and they'll go, they're not going to have a clue what I'm talking about if I don't figure out a way to relate this to them. So, in all my stories, if you notice, everything is getting you to relate to it. You feel like it's not abstract so far out there you don't get it. You get it, and then you go, well, damn, I understand that.
I know we've talked on the phone and you've tried to explain things to me, and I'm like, whoa, like this is me, like, no.
Yeah, I've seen
But
that.
you've actually, we'll call it simplified it, and you've taken something highly technical and complex and made it the way you tell the story makes it so I'm with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
really.
you have that ability. I think it's just your personality and disposition. You know, you've been able to do that, and I appreciate that. I think
Well,
probably everyone else does too.
it's important to me that everybody understands it.
Yeah.
I had a good friend, Carl McNair, still a good friend. Um, his brother was Ron McNair, the black astronaut that died on Challenger. And he runs the McNair Foundation. And he has told me, he said, he's black, obviously. And he said, David, I've watched you get away with stuff with black folks that no white person could ever do. I go, why is that, Carl? And he goes, Well, I had to sit and think about it for a while. How can you do that? He goes, what it is with you, black folks pick up on, your sincerity is so strong.
Yeah.
I've asked my friends, y'all understand what he's saying? No, but he cares so much that we understand this. I'll stand here and listen to him all day
Yeah.
because he wants me to know this. So it's obviously important to him and important for me to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he said, we're going to sit here and we're going to listen to him until we finally figure it out.
You're not rolling your eyes, you're not impatient, you're not huffing and
No,
shying. You've streamlined it so like the average person can understand it. And that's really important. And I think
yeah,
people do feel your honesty and your humbleness, I guess we'll say, like you're a regular person that just has been amped up like a billion times and done incredible things, but there's still more to come, which is so exciting. And
yeah.
you have helpers and um, I don't know it all, but it's going to be great.
Oh, there's such things I could do yet. Um, I hung out with a guy when I was young, and he was such an influence. And he died in 1968 of a heart attack. And I think I was 12. And his name was Walt Disney. And I got to hanging with him a lot. And he showed me the future worlds of what he wanted to build. And more than that, he gave me the blueprints, the outlines of it. And it stuck in my mind forever. And I could finish some of the things he wanted to do. And given the right circumstances, I could bring that to bear. But some of the concepts and thoughts he had were just outrageous. And I mean, they're up there with mine. Uh, and there's a lot of, and let's be practical. There's a lot of money to be made with this stuff. Um, they have proven, they being Walt Disney has proven that they continue Disney World, not just Disneyland, Disney World on just the admission price to get in. They had their 50th anniversary. Not bad, pretty good demonstration, yeah.
Yeah.
And they
So
said,
just out of curiosity, how did you meet Walt Disney?
um, through Warner Von Braun,
Ah,
they were friends.
right.
Von Braun was an obvious for me because rockets and all stuff, and I had won so many awards when I was little. They put me in. It's the way I became my surrogate mother. You know who my surrogate mother was? Her name is Viola. She had a son named Neil. Viola Armstrong. That's my surrogate mother. And the people go, how in the hell was that possible? I said, she got picked by Governor Gilligan of Ohio to be a dignitary, the mother of the first man on the moon. And so her job was to go to all these science fairs and conventions and hang the medals around the neck of the winner. Well, after about the sixth or seventh medal, she hung around my neck in 3 weeks. She looked at me, what are you doing, child? I said, I guess I'm kind of busy. She said, well, can you come over to my house? Oh, well, hell yes, I can. And we became good friends. And I did not become good friends with Viola because of Neil. I rarely talked to Neil. There was a funny story. I ran in over Wapakoneta, Ohio to their home. She was out back getting the canning jars ready because we were canners. We canned together. And Neil was in the kitchen visiting. And I went, hi, Neil. He goes, you're David. I said, yeah. Boom. I went right past him. And Viola came up to me a day later and she said, you know, Neil said you came through the kitchen in a blur. And I said, okay. And I said, he said, Mom, if I didn't get out of the way fast enough, I swear I think David would put a footprint on my head to get back here to you. I said, oh, I didn't hurt his feelings. And she said, when you get a minute, could you talk to Neil? Now, how many times does a person get asked that question?
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
And so I spent time talking to him and we became friends, but he liked me most of all by the way that I liked his mother. He thought that was so cool. He said, you don't care if I'm an astronaut, went to the moon or not, do you? I said, not really. I'm here for your mother. I want to learn about canon. And he goes, that is fabulous. All that rocket stuff you got, and you are into canning with my mother. I said, absolutely. Your mother's great. And he goes, and this is rare for Neil to say this to you. He said, you're welcome in my house or my office anytime you want to show up. And I understood that was a huge stretch because he was a recluse.
That's super cool. Super cool.
Yeah. And we had a lot of talks, but he liked the way I was his mom's best friend.
Yeah.
Um, I've got memories of that stuff that's really strange. For instance, when Neil was sleeping on the moon for the first night, people would ask me, "Where are you?" Oh, I was at home. No, I wasn't. I was sleeping in Neil Armstrong's bed, childhood bed. Viola put me down there. And then
Wow.
like I hate that question. Where were you when Neil was walking on the moon? I'm sitting there going, well, I can either A, lie, tell everybody I'm at home watching TV, or B, tell the truth. So where were you when Neil was walking on the moon? Well, let's see. I was sitting in the living room floor, uh, leaning back against the knees of Viola Armstrong, Neil's mother. And the original 7 Mercury astronauts, all 7 were in front of me on the floor. That's where I was. And people stand there, they blink their eyes at you, and you go, they ain't believing this for nothing. And God strike me dead, it's the truth. Um, it's just the way the whole thing developed and went down that way. And
Super interesting.
it's just
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah.
Just typical day at the office. And
It, it, is there anything else we should talk about or know about Pitholem at all? I mean, I
um,
feel like we've answered the questions I pretty much had, but um, what I thought
I'll,
we go
as
ahead.
the one of them is an answer or an observation. Um, and this comes from the younger females because their hearts, but they're sitting there going, is there a romance anywhere in all that? That's a fair question. And I hadn't planned on it, but then the best romances are the ones that you don't plan. Um, I said, I don't know. It's got some problems. First of all, I'm human, she's not. So at least we should have the same species. We're not even at that, starting with that. Um, she's got something on her mind. I don't know what it is, but I think she's going to absorb a female body, human female. And I asked her, why do you want to do that? And she said, and then I asked her, well, you're going to be a teenager? And she goes, no, I'm going to be about 2 years behind you. I go, well, wait a minute, you're cutting yourself short. We only got so many years here as humans. Yeah, but at least I would be in the right range with you. I said, what are you thinking? And she says, well, I've been with you 54 years. What do you think? And I thought, well, I said, I'm not even going to think about that. I said,
Mm-mm.
so yeah, she's as one person found out very badly, don't say bad things about me to her, or she will go off on me, and it's not good. Very protective. So, and she's been concerned about all the wives living and dying, how that's affecting me. I said,
Yeah.
it's taking its toll on you, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, there seems to be. I don't. I ain't planning on any romance, but there's an affection there between us for sure. Can't spend 5.5 decades with somebody that close to you and not get to know them. But I don't know. And I said, there's another problem. She goes, what's that? I'm not a prince. So she goes, yeah, well, she says, if I remember well in fairy tale books, a lot of princesses married farm boys and things
It's
like
the
that.
Princess Bride, right?
Yeah. And I said, yeah, you're right. She goes, so? I said, never, let's just move on.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Separation points was going to be where it's all going to hit a head or come to a precipice will be when she departs from me. We'll see what happens with what's left over. Oh, God. And
Well,
then,
when you talked about that earlier in the call, Marty says you're both going to be okay and not to worry.
yeah, she
And
said the same thing. And
so he has told me some stuff about what's going to happen, and I don't really want to put it here, but I think you're going to be happy.
yeah, well, the Almighty has said the same. And um, I've always trusted his
Yeah.
views and judgments. I always asked, am I doing okay? Am I a good and faithful servant? And the answer keeps coming back, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, if I could get to
Well,
that level, I'd be happy.
what I'd probably like to do is probably sign off for now because it's been a pretty long video. Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you're agreeable and interested, we could
Hmm.
maybe talk another time. And I'd like to
Sure.
hear more of your stories. Like we got to like when you were first in the army and
Hmm.
kind of we talked about that, but I know you've got so many stories and people are fascinated by the stories and
The
you
stories are crazy.
I know. So
Sure.
if you would be willing, we'd love to hear more of those. And I'm sure I'll have more questions by then. Um,
I think that one of the,
yeah.
say for
So
that time, one of the favorite stories is the submarine
yeah,
and the nuclear reactors and all that. God, that is such a crazy story. You can't make up something that crazy.
I know.
And the logic of it flows like silk. It's just so logical that would happen the way it did.
Yeah. Yeah. I think yeah, like you can't make up the stories. Now, in my circle way back when I used to say, "Oh, I can top any story you've got." Well, I think I've met the master.
I
Right?
didn't try to be that, but it just evolved.
Yeah.
Um, I'll run into people say, I've got great stories. And I'm sitting there going, how about you? And I go, no, I just, friends that know me, they look at me and I go, nah, I haven't got anything, just dust.
Yeah.
And some friends would be standing there going, bullshit. You
Now,
got to hear these stories.
you were saying that snakes are disappointed that we have like fear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Fear of them. And it's kind of depressed them some. They, well, and they feel persecuted, which we are.
Mhm.
Anybody sees a snake, they're ready to take a stick or a shovel to it. And very few snakes are ever really harmful. Like in North Carolina here, we're not in that good a shape. We have four of the most notorious vipers in the world. The eastern diamondback is home here, the cottonmouth, the copperhead, and the yellow viper. All of them just as deadly as they can be. But the rest of the snakes that run around here are just black snakes.
Yeah.
They get beat and chopped up, and they don't do anything but eat mice.
Right.
I had a black snake once that was so huge, he had slid from the roof in the gutter, and the rest of him was on the ground. Yeah, he was that big. He was like 14, 15 feet, just
Wow.
gigantic black snake.
Yeah.
I went over there and picked him up. He caught all around my arms and legs, and I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Trying to get off the roof, get down here. So let me carry you out here to the woods and turn you loose and find you some mice." But that thing was huge. I've never seen a black snake that big before.
Crazy. Yeah.
But I didn't beat at it, didn't run after it, didn't do anything to it. Just picked it up and put it in the woods so it could have better access. And
Yeah.
it it appreciated that. It said, most people go get something to kill me or they run from me and said, "Here, you're just relocating me." I said, "Yeah, I'm just going to pick you up and carry." Man, that thing was heavy. It must have weighed about 30 pounds.
Wow. Yeah.
It was a big black snake. I've never seen one that big. But yeah, next
Yeah.
time you see a snake, don't take a hoe to it. Think about it. It actually has feelings. It don't want to die. It don't mean you any harm. It just happens to be there. Now, if it's cottonmouth or a copperhead, well, that's a different story.
I've
But
met two really aggressive rattlesnakes, and that was really scary. But most of them are just like kind of chill. You know what I mean?
yeah, Mother Nature built them. They have an odor about them. It's unbelievable. Stinks so bad like a skunk. And they have a rattler. And so they're designed to keep you away so they don't have to interfere with you, interact with you.
Mhm.
But nevertheless, they have the ability to kill.
Yep.
So you don't want to mess with them.
Yep.
But the meanest snake I've ever met with just a bad attitude is the cottonmouth. That thing has just it's an evil snake. It's probably the one that was in the Garden of Eden. But it sees you, it comes at you, comes right at you. If it sees a flashlight, comes right at you. Um, Hangs in the trees and wait for a boat to come underneath so it can drop down in the boat to get at you. I mean,
Mm-mm.
it's a bad attitude. It's a bad snake altogether.
No night fishing for me.
No, cottonmouths are not to be trifled with.
Yeah. I
Uh,
had a snake in my yard June, July that was so big I couldn't even catch it all. By the time I got my camera go or my phone on and blah blah blah, I couldn't even catch it on. I think I got at least 10 feet on film, but there was
God,
more of it I couldn't even get.
they can get really big if they're not bothered.
Yeah.
Um, I had, for my wife's sake, but also other problems. I had to kill a copperhead out front here. That was the biggest copperhead I've ever seen in my life. That thing was almost the length of the car.
Ooh.
That's really unusual. Copperheads don't normally get about 2 or 3 feet. This thing was about 8 or 9 feet.
Yeah.
And I ran over it with a car
Ooh.
and it bit the tire. This thing was bad. It was full of eggs. It's old, but I had to get rid of it. My wife was deathly scared of snakes. I mean, really bad. And that one seemed to look for her and chase her in the backyard.
Mm.
So I thought, well, I'm going to have to get involved here and do something. I don't want to,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
necessary. So, but yeah, black snakes, green snakes, most garter snakes, all that stuff. They're harmless and they got feelings too, just
Yeah.
like a dog.
Yeah. I try not to kill anything. I will
Yeah,
see a mosquito, but I try not to kill anything and I give them fair warning. If they're in my
I'm
house,
so bad off. I about wrecked my car trying not to hit a squirrel,
yeah, yeah,
and I go out of my way not to step on a bug anywhere.
yeah, me too.
It's
I mean,
just
sometimes you don't
weird.
realize they're there or whatever, but I would never purposefully hurt anyone. And I mean, I've had scorpions, I sweep them out and I tell them to stay out.
And
And
they will.
yeah, they have.
They understand you. They hear you.
Yeah. And I said, if
Um,
I catch you back in here again, you're gonna have trouble. And
you get
we only have,
squashed.
yeah, yeah, and I wouldn't do it anyways. I just have to threaten them.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
well,
they'll listen.
yep. I want to thank you so, so very much for your time and so it's such a breadth of information that you have.
All
And
right.
like I said, if we could talk again about all your other stories,
Oh,
I
there's a
think
bunch.
we'd really love that. And
Sure.
anytime you're open. All right.
Okay. Anytime
Thank
you
you
want to do it.
so much.